time. Welcome and thank you very much for coming to this talk. Super excited to be here myself. And before I start, I'm just going to point out that this is not a guide on how to start a successful indie company, of course, and it's not even a guide on how to successfully quit a good-paying job and go broke. You're gonna have to figure that out yourselves. So this is really my own sort of very personal story, but who knows, maybe there's some inspiration there or cautionary tales for you kind of thing. So first, a little bit about myself. My name, of course, is Espen Sogn. I'm originally from Sweden, but 20 years ago, I moved to Amsterdam to start working at Guerrilla Games. So I've been working basically there for a little bit more than 20 years. So working in AAA, and I worked on some big games like in the Killzone and Horizon franchises. But after 20 years, after doing that, and even though I was enjoying it very much, I just felt ready to do my own thing. So, there you go. So I started my own company called Jotun Games to make what I thought of as my dream game, The Heirs of Eternity, which is a roguelike XCOM type game in a science fantasy setting. And it started as a fun exercise because I like to make lists and kind of analyze things. I started just looking at all the sort of top games that I was playing in Steam and just going through each and every one of them and writing down like, you know, this is what I like, this is what I don't like, and this is kind of what I would like to do differently. And after about 20 pages of that, I suddenly realized that I had the design for a perfect game. You know, just do the pros, don't do the cons, and then just add my own flavor, and there you have it, the perfect game. So now if only somebody would make it. And then it just struck me that I could make this, actually. And then it was just, as soon as I had that thought, I just went like, okay, I just have to do this. So that kind of set that in motion. Of course, the timing was about as bad as it could get, you know? The industry is in full crisis mode. People are getting laid off left and right. And here I go, leaving my well-paying job. But I was very, very naive and wildly optimistic at that time. I thought, you know, how hard can it be? You know, I'll probably get funded in like 3 to 6 months or something like that. So, and I have a little bit of money in the bank, so, you know, nothing to worry about. So why do this really? Because, you know, I wasn't blind to the fact that, you know, the industry was really hurting, or it still is actually, of course. I mentioned my first reason already. I had this project that I just felt incredibly excited about. And as soon as I had it, you know, my regular work just didn't feel as exciting anymore, you know, because it's just working on somebody else's game just didn't feel so good anymore kind of thing when I could just work on this instead. Because for me, making games was never just a job. And even though working at a big company was pretty fun and really scratched that itch for me for many, many years, like literally 2 decades, I now had a strong desire to call all the shots myself and really be able to go with my gut and where my creativity took me. So, and the last one, of course, is that, you know, I'm not getting any younger either. You know, it's either really, I'm in my 50s already. If I don't do it now, if I don't try it now, it's probably never going to happen, right? So this is kind of also a reason. So screw the bad times, you know, like I'm just going to try it anyways. So, but really, there are also loads of reasons to stay. The obvious one is being that, well, every month you get a paycheck. And this is actually, even though it's super duper predictable, it was actually a real sort of gut punch to me. I was so used to not really thinking about money. And now I had to kind of think twice about getting myself a cup of coffee. So that, you know, wasn't super fun. And there's also like a lot of things that I don't like, and probably you guys don't like either. It's like there's tons of paperwork and stuff like that that is just sort of magically handled in all these big corporations, you know, health insurance and taxes and, you know, a bunch of other little things. But actually the worst part, of course, is the social aspect. You know, working in a big company, and at Guerrilla, it's just like with lots and lots of really nice people. Now, of course, when I left, you know, it can be quite lonely to just work on your own. There's no more Friday beers, no more conversations around the coffee machine. And, you know, suddenly it's on me to just make all these things happen. And it's actually a lot of work for something that I just used to have for free, you know. So, speaking of coworkers, In a big company, of course, you have a lot of them, and some of them have very, very useful skills, right? So you need the engine tweaked, you need a little feature. Well, tools department, sort you out. Your computer breaks down, just call the IT department, they're right over, they fix it. Animations, props, you name it. There's like entire departments that would just sort you out, and that's what they're for. So it's like very, very convenient. In AAA, you often feel like the sky's the limit, which is, not entirely true, but it really kind of feels like it, which is probably one reason why they become so expensive as well, because, you can just literally do anything. So, of course, I had to adjust my expectations for what can be done and how long, especially, it will take. That's not to say that smaller teams are worse, actually. In a lot of ways, smaller teams are way more efficient because your lines of communication are just much, much shorter. You have much fewer stakeholders, which means you don't have to convince quite so many people that if you have an idea, you can, you only have to tell 2 or 3 people, whereas in a big company, it can be quite hard to change direction on anything, really. And then finally, also, probably my favorite part is just that the smaller the company are, of course, each individual has a bigger slice of the cake, and has a much bigger impact. When you add a bigger company, even though you're working on this really big game that millions of people play, you're still just a tiny little sliver of everybody that's working there, and sometimes it can feel like a little bit anonymous to work there. Whereas, of course, if you work with just 4 of your buddies, you're having a real, stake in this, and that feels pretty good. So the first, I think, mistake, perhaps, that I think everybody does when I started was really that I felt like, well, I need to know how to do every single thing, right? And at the beginning, I tried to teach myself everything about Unreal, spent like hundreds of hours in tutorials, and I'm not going to say it was a waste of time. Of course, it's really, really good to just kind of at least have an overall idea of all the systems and all that kind of stuff. But I realized at some point that I was never going to be more than mediocre at being, say, a texture artist or, a technical designer, for example, or something like that, right? And it was really taking away time and focus from the things that I wanted to do and the things that I'm good at. So basically designing the game and, running the business, which is a lot of work in itself. And finally, I'm really not a solo dev at heart. I love working in a team. And I really always like the synergy that you get from working with people and when you're kind of like on the same page. And I think the ideas that come out of it, I just really like it better if it's just not just me, thinking of everything. So I started looking for a team. And luckily for me, the dev community in general is really awesome. And I think the indie dev scene is even better than that, I think. It's just like incredibly welcoming and really, really, really helpful. So I got a lot of leads and managed to put together, quite a nice group of people. So I was extremely lucky with all the people that I found. And it also helped that I had, of course, connections. But after working 20 years at Guerrilla, I know quite a lot of people in the industry, of course. Of course, not everything goes to plan. Like one of the early things that kind of went sideways was that I had to sort out a trademark issue. It turned out that there was already a game from the 1990s that had my original name for it. In the end, it wasn't a big deal. They were actually super cool about it, so I'll just change my name, and it wasn't like some big deal. But it's still kind of very intimidating when you get like these cease and desist letters by lawyers and things like that. So that was a bit of a scary moment. But like I said, they actually turned out to be really cool, so it was fine. More sort of common problem you're going to have, or at least I have, when you don't have money, which means I can't actually hire anybody full time, is of course that it's very hard to plan for anything because you have somebody working on something for a while, and then of course they have to go take a full-time job somewhere, and which is obviously naturally everybody needs to pay rent and so on, right? But it can be very frustrating, of course, because it's nearly impossible to plan for anything because I have to kind of just work with whoever happens to be available at that time, right? And finally, of course, the news hasn't exactly been uplifting lately, I feel. AI is about to destroy the entire industry as we know it. No one wants to invest in games anymore. Everybody's upset and sad, and it's just kind of all sucky all around kind of thing, right? I'm actually personally kind of like a stupidly optimistic person. I think this will blow over eventually, but it might take a while. I have a feeling it's gonna get a little bit worse before it gets better, but eventually we'll end up with some really cool tools, and people are not gonna just be mass fired all over the place, you know? Yeah. Then, so this is also another thing that, of course, you get a lot of advice, and it is very healthy, of course, to seek out advice because, you know, there's a lot of knowledge out there about stuff you don't know. But you also kind of have to be a bit careful with what you listen to. For example, in my case, I heard from, you know, several places, you know, industry insiders and stuff like that, that the genre that I'm making the game in is just dead. You know, forget about it, just do something else, right? And I don't know, maybe they're right. I don't know, but the fact is that they don't know that either. You know, nobody knows what's going to be popular 2, 3, 15 years from now when this game comes out. So this is kind of the stuff that I just choose to ignore in this case, right? And the other side of that same coin is really if you just do whatever's popular right now, you just end up with, I don't know, 15 extraction shooters at the time when everybody's just really tired of it, right? So it's, you know, just going with something popular today doesn't mean it will be popular forever, you know? So, the fact at the end as well, the reason why I kind of really wanted to go with my gut feeling about this is the fact that this genre is not dead to me. I love these games. I'm always looking for other sort of like XCOM type, you know, games, which is what my game is. That's the genre. And I know a lot of other people that are actually really excited about it. So I don't know, for me, that doesn't really compute. But of course, having said that, you do need to set reasonable expectations, of course, because even though, of course, I don't know exactly how popular your game is going to be when it comes out, but you do, if you do a bit of market research and stuff like that, you can at least get an idea, is it going to be hundreds of thousands of people going to buy your game, or millions, or tens of millions, or something like that? Because, of course, if you're going to ask somebody to put down a big chunk of money on your product, it's good to show that you have some kind of grip on reality, at least, you know? Another bit of advice that I got, which is technically a really good advice, but doesn't work for me, is to just do something simpler. The game that I'm working on is quite ambitious, especially visually, because I come from AAA, I suppose. And you know, I think at first glance, it's really good advice, right? Do something simple. But the thing is, like, the problem with that was that I didn't want to do something simple. This was this specific game that I want to make. And the idea that I went and started doing this was to do something that I feel very, very passionate about. And I also don't feel like I can do my best if I don't work on something that I really, really care about a lot. And I think another side of that same thing is that going out on your own is hard. It's really, really difficult. And there's going to be times when things just go sideways. And it's very, very simple, very easy to just give up. And I think if you don't just really love, and in my case, I'm going to make this game no matter what, right? It's very easy to just go like, okay, I give up, I'll just get a job and do something else, right? Because you got to make sure that you have fun. Otherwise, this whole thing will just go from very difficult to pretty much impossible. And, you know, and it always goes wrong at some point. As a sort of like a side thing that I've noticed actually here and there in the community is actually like, I noticed this sort of like performative misery that you can see. Some people somehow taking a weird pride in, oh, this is really taking a toll on my health. And it's like, oh, I'm working 24 hours a day and, you know, I'm killing myself doing this. I don't have a social life anymore. Everything sucks. And it's just like, I really don't understand it, right? It's like, why do this if it sucks, right? There's so many more easy ways to set yourself up in a bad situation than to start your own, you know, indie company. So it's a really weird badge of honor, right? I guess maybe it's just talking just to show how incredibly serious you are about, you know, doing this or something like that. So let's see. Yeah. So yeah, just to round off, the things that I take out from this whole experience is really, you know, be realistic, expect things to go sideways. But on the other hand, you don't have to do everything yourself. and also really keep a laser focus on why you're doing this. In my case, I just wanted to be happy, basically. And that's the thing. If I'm starting to get very, very unhappy, then I'm doing the wrong thing, right? And indeed, is it a happy ending? Well, still looking for funding. That's frustrating, but we are moving forward. We are working on the game. We're getting things done, but it is, of course, going slower and a little bit more frustrating than it could have been. But the thing is that what I set out to do was to find purpose and happiness in what I was doing. And I get to wake up every morning and work on something that I love working on. So no regrets from my point. I find a mission accomplished as far as that goes. So thank you very much for coming in. This is very short and sweet. And I'm pretty sure we have a bunch of time for questions. So, do you have a sort of like a mic or something like that this time around, or? Yeah, I think they have a mic coming up or something, or not. I don't know. I think they need the mic for the recording or something like that. I can hear you, of course, but. Well, yeah. Oh, yeah. Don't worry about it.
Right. One thing that I was considering is working at a different job at the same time, doing splits. Right now, I'm at the start of this journey. Did you work at a different company on the side? Did you try to do it?
I didn't personally. I'm actually just on unemployment benefits because I didn't quit my job per se. We just made a deal saying like, hey, we should just part ways, so I could still have unemployment benefits. And because I've been working for 20 plus years, there was quite a lot, so I could do that. But that's obviously a very privileged, situation. That's not going to apply to most people.
Understood.
But yes, I would definitely recommend you having another source of income because, getting a deal or something like that is going to take time. It's really like, it's not a sprint, it's like a marathon, and you just have to work at it for a long, long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it will sound pretty banal, but I still want to ask it. If you can give yourself back one advice, just one, what would it be?
Actually, I don't know if I would have done anything differently. The only thing, and this is just like more like a fine-tuning thing, I was a bit like careless with my money in the beginning. And in retrospect, I go like, oh, okay, I should have probably like been saving the pennies a little bit more because even hundreds of euros goes a long way to do certain things. That, is the difference between being able to get a freelancer to do like a little thing that you can't do yourself. So yeah, I could have done a little bit more, but to be honest, I didn't have a lot of money to start with, so it wasn't like a huge difference per se.
I've got two questions. One, how many developers, how big's the team when it comes to your dream project?
Right, so it sort of depends on how you look at it. I'm the only person that's kind of like officially in the company, but I've been working with about a half a dozen freelancers.
So about 6?
Yeah, 6, 7 at the moment. And sort of like the idea once we get started is to have, maybe 5 actual employees and then work with a lot of freelance and outsourcing companies.
So considering this is the second question, and it kind of ties in with the first question. So considering that you have worked for AAA studios like Guerrilla Games.
Yeah.
And considering your 20-year history with them, I believe.
Yeah, correct, yeah.
How do you not think it would have been more reasonable, feasible maybe for you to consider going to Guerrilla/Sony and asking them for using your 20-year lineage and your basically just being able to use your history and be able to somehow leverage that in the context of being able to get funding for your dream project from Sony/Guerrilla?
Yeah.
Maybe just do your little bubble project, if that makes sense. I can't remember what the word is called, but
So for them, it doesn't make any sense to do that. because of course they have a whole plan of what kind of games they're making and so on. So it's not really something that they're interested. Sure, certainly, you know, you might think like, well, to a big corporation like Sony, it's peanuts. You know, it's not a lot of money or something like that. But it's just not a thing that they do. So it is certainly something I was thinking about. But yeah, that's not how it works, basically. Yep. All right. Well, I guess that's it. And
One more.
oh, there's more questions. Okay, sorry.
Don't worry. I think your last question and then we just stop.
Hey, so earlier you mentioned you wanted to make something that is truly yours, and prior to that you said you went through all the games that you liked and wrote down all the pros and cons and things you want to do.
Yeah.
So how do you create something that is truly yours when you had so much different input?
Well, because that was actually the thing. I didn't actually set out to make a design for a game. It was just because I like to make lists and like to kind of write down my thoughts about stuff. And but after that, I realized that there's a lot of similarities, and there's kind of like a red thread going through all of these things. Like basically everything I liked was, if you just put that together, it was like, okay, that's the game, really, right? And then avoid a whole bunch of things that just annoy me with the games that I love as well, of course. But it's a bit reductive. It's a bit more than that. But yeah, so it was kind of like an accidental design to start with. But that's sort of like the embryo of the game. Then, of course, after that, for the last year or something like that, I've been sort of refining the actual design of things. But yeah, that was kind of like, I guess, the spark that was there, that needed to be there, and just to get kind of like a very high-level idea about what I wanted to do. And yeah, that's, I guess, a technique you can use, I suppose, if you're looking for ideas. I think, do we have time for this guy as well, or? Oh, I can answer questions if you have more outside if you want. So, all right.